I think by now, just about everybody in this gaming community, especially those who watch a lot of those random fun gaming facts videos, knows about the story of Rare. Rare was this developer who initially started out making games for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but what later happened was they purchased a bunch of expensive Silicon Graphics workstations, which were designed for 3D rendering and are probably best known for their usage in various Hollywood movies such as Jurassic Park. In fact, you know the Unix system from that movie? That was a Silicon Graphics workstation. So, what happened was they used these expensive 3D workstations to churn out Super Nintendo games and arcade games, in the case of Killer Instinct, with 3D pre-rendered graphics that had already been rendered by these expensive computers, and the system just displayed them as sprites. And what happened was this allowed Rare to have a technical edge over the competition who were still using older styled sprites. One of the most notable things about Rare in the 90s was that they developed a lot of games for Nintendo systems as Nintendo purchased a controlling share in them and made them a second-party developer. For example, Rare was not only known for making the character platformers Banjo-Kazooie and of course the Donkey Kong games, but they were also known for making several first-person shooters, which were Perfect Dark and GoldenEye 007 based off the James Bond movie. Now, these two games were pretty popular. Even if they haven't aged well, you'll still see many people talking about how great they were in the 90s. And you'll also see lots of people who never played the games talking about how great they were anyway because they purchased a cartridge for a few dollars off Amazon. However, eventually, with many companies, it seems like a streak of good games always has to come to an end somewhere. And what happened was there was turnover at Rare. Even before the Microsoft buyout, you had many employees leaving Rare, with one of the most notable studios being formed from ex-Rare employees being Free Radical Design, who made the well-known Time Splitter series of first-person shooters, eventually being bought by Crytek. And then eventually Microsoft bought Rare and released a few Xbox 360 launch titles, a few original Xbox games including a remake of Conquer, and of course what really caused controversy was when Microsoft chose Rare to develop a lot of stuff related to Kinect, 360 avatars and the like, and this caused a lot of controversy because they weren't developing video games. And eventually there was a lot of layoffs due to stuff such as Microsoft moving away from Kinect and games selling poorly. And this, like I said, caused controversy. And of course there's already been a spiritual successor announced to an old Rare game which has racked up loads of money on Kickstarter, because as we all know, anything on Kickstarter that's a spiritual successor to something is going to rack up money. But to be fair, I have not really played a lot of Rare games, so I only know what people online have said about Rare, and all I know is that if you mention Rare, you'll cause a great big flame war. What I do know, though, is that from what I've played of Star Fox Adventures, which is the game I'm reviewing, it's not that great of a game. Now, Star Fox Adventures not only has a unique development history, but it was also the last game that Rare made on a Nintendo system, as the same day this game came out in America was the day that Microsoft bought Rare. Now, Star Fox Adventures originally was not going to be a Star Fox game. It was actually going to be an entirely different game called Dinosaur Planet for the Nintendo 64. But then Miyamoto came and asked to put his persona in the game. And so what they did was, because the main character looked a lot like Fox McCloud, they changed the game to be a Star Fox branded game and a launch era game too for the Nintendo GameCube, instead of a Nintendo 64 game. And then Miyamoto wanted his persona, Fox McCloud, in the game, so what they did was they not only decided to make it a GameCube launch era game to boost sales, but they also added the Star Fox branding to it, so that, you know, people would buy the game because it said Star Fox on the package. And then they also made it so it would be Star Fox based, like I said. But what happened was they had to rewrite some of the plot because of this, and you can tell when you play the game that they had to change some stuff. And the sudden change was not accepted willingly by all the staff because of this. And well, eventually the game came out as an early GameCube title, and it sold a bunch of copies. But either way, I'm going to talk about this game now and how it actually is. So let's start the review. So Star Fox Adventures could pretty much be summed up as like Zelda with furries, as that's pretty much what the game is. The whole game's premise is this: you're on some planet and you have Crystal, who's supposed to be guarding something or something, I don't know, and apparently something happens to her, and then you're Fox McCloud, you see this whole planet screwed up with bits missing from it, and your whole goal is that you have to save it or do something. I mean, it feels entirely out of place for a Star Fox game, and after you play this game, you can really see why this game is like not a very good Star Fox game, because everything is just out of place. It does not fit very well with Star Fox. It just doesn't. And I know I might sound like I'm complaining, but you gotta remember, even in the theming of the game, it doesn't fit very well. It's like they threw Fox McCloud into a random game. That's what it feels like, because none of this even fits very well with the whole Star Fox universe, or at least what's seen of it in the games, because the games themselves are pretty much you're going around, you're shooting stuff, that's it. But if there's anything this game did add to the Star Fox universe, it did add Crystal, furry waifu, just like how Super Mario Bros. 2, like, you know, the American one, just like how that game added Shy Guys and Birdos to the series. And even Super Mario Bros. 2 feels more like a Mario game than Star Fox Adventures feels like a Star Fox game. I mean, the theming of this game is very un-Star Fox-like. It just does not make sense. It's like they added it in to sell more copies. And another thing that this game does is, when you play it, you can tell the controls have aged poorly because the C-stick just lets you select items. Well, gee, didn't game developers eventually realize that that's what the D-pad's for and not the other analog stick? I mean, here's the thing. It does not work very well with the other analog stick, because many games, especially modern ones, but also games made since Halo 1, which came out a year before this game did, use the other analog stick to look around, and it works a lot better than it does when you're, like, let's just say, aiming with the lock-on button. The lock-on aiming does not work as well as dual stick gaming does. It's a fact, it's known, there's a reason many games do not use lock-on aiming anymore. It just does not work very well. And here's the thing though, that really is the worst part about this game. This game is just boring gameplay wise. I mean, really, I played like, I don't know, 30 minutes of it, and that was just a tutorial. Then I played like another 30 minutes, and here's the thing. Kind of struggle where to go, because kind of like Zelda, they really don't give you a very good direction on where you're supposed to go. Like, they don't really give you many clues on where you're supposed to go next. You can, however, purchase the game guide or go on game FAQs and look up a walkthrough on how to play it, and that's what I had to do for part of it. And here's the thing, looking up walkthroughs is not fun. Finding stuff yourself is a lot more rewarding than having to look up a walkthrough, and that's the thing with the game design. It is not designed very well. And that's probably the worst thing about this game. The game does not do a very good job at hooking you in. However, the game does do one thing right, and that's the graphics. The graphics, especially for a launch era GameCube title, look pretty good. And especially with the fur of the characters, you can tell that Rare really wanted you to notice that they put a lot of effort into the detail of the main models. So, like Star Fox and Crystal, I mean Fox McCloud and Crystal, they both have very, very detailed fur, which, especially for a GameCube game. But here's the thing though, the game itself just doesn't play that great, and it hasn't really aged that well, especially when you look at the controls and when you look at how the game plays. And the music wasn't very memorable for me either. And that's the thing with this game. This game just isn't that great. It's pretty bland and forgettable. So why is this a bad game? Simple. The game especially tries to leech off the success of another game series, despite feeling like they just tacked another game onto this game. I mean, maybe if the game came out in its original form, it might have been more interesting, especially with lore and stuff. But here's the thing, it just makes no sense because they took a random game and added Star Fox stuff to it. I mean, it just doesn't go very well, and to make matters worse, this is a pretty boring game anyways. And that's all that really needs to be said. This game just isn't that great. Thanks for watching, subscribe for more. Oh yeah, one more thing. If this game is how Rare was before they went out of business, then I'm guessing Rare must not have been that great of a company. Of course, maybe I'm wrong. I honestly haven't played many Rare games. I'm probably going to get the Rare replay later on when that game comes out to see what all the whole hype's about with Rare. But yeah, this game just isn't that great. It's pretty boring. That's all that needs to be said. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more.